heard sirens, and there's an ambulance right across the street. Occasionally I would see cops right here across the street. I was just sitting on the couch. So I don't know what's going on. I think a lot of times police are here stopping demonic activity, perhaps protecting me, but sometimes they're also spying on me. And I just posted a video about I can see the angels, and what if they resorted to this to spy on me instead? I don't know. But no, I hope whoever's okay. I know there's a lot of addiction problems and alcoholics in this neighborhood, so hopefully everyone's okay. And they have a lot of kids over there. Yeah, this is from inside my home. Looking through my sheer curtain. So either someone's actually hurt and the ambulance is here to take someone to the hospital, or they're spying on me, or someone was attempting to send an attack over here and it's intercepted. Knowing the way that things work, and no, I don't know everything, I just know a little bit. I only know what God has shown me so far, but there are angels and demons that work in healthcare, that work in the police station, that work at the sheriff's office, and they're all involved. But there's always something going on right across the street. So I was just laying down on the couch. So it's quite a mess. It's the dogs who've been into some stuff. It's not just them. I've made a mess too, which I have to pick up. Let's see what's going on here. Is this that's the mail woman. I have a wonderful mail woman, I think. Or maybe that is someone from the hospital. Oh dear. I've been behind on making videos. No one sees my videos. I'm not even sure I'm supposed to be making them, but I'm documenting them like a diary of my life. A couple weeks ago, there was an ambulance a few houses down there, and I think it's directly related to something that happened. And now there's an ambulance here. So now's a good time as any. A few houses, 2 or 3 houses down, just across the street and down a few houses. I think it was 2 houses down. There was an ambulance there a few weeks ago. And it was there quite a while. And then it left. And then the next week there were police there at that house. Now, I was looking at my home on Google Maps, maybe trying to find directions or directions to some place. And I noticed that the symbol, the historical landmark symbol on my house, on my property, is actually a rook. Now, I thought it looks like a crown. So I thought that God had crowned me and crowned my property. But actually, when I looked at it, it was a rook, which is also, in Italian, it's a fortress symbol. And I looked up what this actually means. It's like a high tower where you send out attacks. And I think it defends and protects the property, and that would be my yard. So I was thinking, and this is just based on what I remember from a few weeks ago. So then I thought, this is a sign that I'm supposed to send out spiritual attacks from this property. And so I claimed my street. And I don't know how to do this. I just saw a few things on the internet, so I'm trying, but I don't know how to do any of this. I'm not some special person. I think I'm just a regular person. I think I'm just a regular person. But I sent out some spiritual attacks and reclaimed my street, which is a ley line. And I also told any demons living on the street that they had to leave. and they could not stay here. They had to make plans to leave. If they stayed, they just couldn't be evil anymore. They couldn't sin anymore. So then it was probably the next day that the ambulance was just a couple houses down. So then I thought probably there was somebody incapacitated, because when I first moved in, I saw a car drive up to that property. And there was a woman in there, and I was trying to use a phone, because I had just fled a narcissist, and I didn't have any internet, and I didn't have any phone, and the house I'd left from, all of the lines of communication were shut off too, so I had no way to contact anyone. And so I was trying to find somebody that would let me use their phone or their cell phone. And so I asked the person next door, and they were on drugs, and they said their phone didn't work, and they actually seemed nice, but they were on drugs. And then a car had pulled into that property down there, and the woman there let me use her phone to call. I needed to call the water company, the city water. I don't know what that's called, but I needed to call them to turn my water back on, because I had no phone, I had no internet, and my water was shut off. And so that woman there was from DoorDash, and she was delivering groceries to that house. And I think it's DoorDash. Maybe she worked at Walmart or some delivery company, but she let me use her phone, and then I was able to call and get my water turned back on. So thank God for that. She just happened to be there. But I noticed that was at the house where the ambulance had showed up later. So somebody there was in poor health, probably bedridden, and unable to do anything. So then when I claimed this street for God, for the kingdom, and I don't know if I did this properly, and I probably need to do more, but when I claimed this street, the next day, there was an ambulance at that house, which is making me think that whatever evil spirits or demons were in that person, perhaps it's a high witch or warlock that was bedridden, that's behind a lot of the spells going on in the addiction and alcoholic problems. The problems with alcoholism. I'm sorry, I'm kind of disoriented. Actually, I was kind of laying on the couch and I had been asleep earlier, but I quickly got up and started recording this. So a few weeks ago, after I claimed my street for the kingdom and for God, which I probably did incorrectly and I could do a better job, the next day there was an ambulance a couple houses down here. And then I went out to mow my lawn a few days later, and it just happened to be a bunch of police at that house. So I think that there was probably a high witch or warlock that's involved with a lot of the demonic activity on the street. This is probably the slum of the neighborhood. When I looked up the crime rates for my town, the crime rates here are a little bit higher. Yeah, I say they're twice what they are in a lot of places in my state. But this street has like almost all of the crime. So if you look up crime rates in this city in Ohio, it's maybe double, but it's not extremely high. But this street is where most of the crime is. If you look at like maps that show different colors for the level of crime, the crime occurs on this street. And I'm not afraid and I don't mind. And actually, I think that the shooter came because of me, and they were trying to get to my property, so it probably has went up since I moved in. But anyways, there was an ambulance down here. Then a few days later, police were at that home. And of course, since I was taking care of my lawn, I could kind of keep an eye on. I didn't see anything, but I think that there was probably 2 houses down here, a witch or warlock that was bedridden, casting spells and working for the kingdom of darkness. And I tried to reclaim this street. Maybe I did. Maybe I need to do more of that. I tried to reclaim this street for God, and that happened the next day. And so then I wake up today. Actually, I think I prayed yesterday to remove any delay or spirits that were involved in certain things that were going on here. So, guys, me praying doesn't mean that I'm powerful. It means that God is powerful and God listens to us. So, if you believe and you pray, your prayer can move mountains, but you have to believe. And belief, it doesn't even mean the same thing in English. It means that there is knowledge, wisdom, and truth and research behind whatever you believe. So it's not just I believe in unicorns and I've never seen one. There's a lot of evidence for God. But actually, to show your belief is by being obedient to God and following God's laws. So if you suspect that there's a God, and here's the 10 Commandments, and here's the way we're supposed to live our life, and here's things Jesus did, and you try to copy that, then you have strong faith. So just documenting what's going on here. There used to be police here all of the time, and that kind of stopped a few months ago. And then after I claimed this street for the kingdom, then there was an ambulance down here the next day. A few days later, a bunch of cops. So I don't know what's going on. And then today, or I had made another prayer yesterday, and today there was the ambulance here. And so I do think there are problems with alcohol that could be involved. I hope these people are okay. And actually, hope doesn't do anything. Prayer can. So, but who knows what's going on at this point.